What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with some Raid Shadow Legends, and we're on Dragon 25 today. We're going to be doing a little bit of Dragon 25 farming. There is a 2x speed gear drop event going on right now, and I haven't really done much with the 25 dungeons, mainly because I'm lacking quite a few of the champions you need for speed running them outside of Spider 25, which we have a 15-second team there, so we're able to do that one pretty well. But a lot of the stuff you need for 25, like the Poison Explosion, Prince Kaimar, things like that, I just simply do not have those champions even after almost 2.5 years of playing the game on my main account. So I've been kind of looking around to find a team I could put together that would at least get my time down to like a minute 30. And I finally came up with this team for Dragon 25. First off, I have to give a huge shout out to fellow Raid content creator Tyraku, who actually is where I got this idea from. I was trying to find a team that didn't use the Poison Explosion, and he had a video out, which I'll link down below in a pinned comment so you guys can check it out if you want. His used a couple of different champions. He had Kaimar in his, of course. He had Ghostborn, and I believe, I'm trying to think, I think Thea the Tomb Angel, along with Ruel and Armiger. But there were some alternatives there. Obviously, you can use Renegade for Kaimar, and then we also brought in Lydia for the decreased defense and the weaken. We unfortunately have not been able to pull Ghostborn either, which would be kind of cool if we could. And then I decided to use Mithrala instead of Thea the Tomb Angel to set up Ruel's Hex. It's a little bit easier to do, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Plus, she brings a little bit of poison, which you could use on the dragon to try to speed up the run. Just a little bit. But a lot of thanks to Tyraku. He's a really underrated content creator in my opinion, makes some great videos, has some really cool teams, some good opinions on the game, so definitely check him out if you haven't. You know, there's a lot of good content creators in this game you may not know about, so I wanted to highlight that and give you a link down to his channel to go check him out there. But so you can see the team here kind of working, and our fastest time with this is about a minute 19. That's if everything goes perfectly. It's going to usually top out on the worst time around a minute 45 or so, but usually it's right there in the middle, right around a minute 30. So it's a pretty good team. You know, I can put this on auto battle, go do something for 30 minutes if we can get a couple of runs done. So it's not too bad, especially considering my time before this was well over 3 minutes because I just never really tried it. And like I said, don't have the Poison Explosion big time champions like Cavalax and Theodore, where you can just run through this. Now, we did recently pull a second Ella Gnarl, so I'm halfway thinking about building a double explosion team with her for maybe Fire Knight 25, but really nothing to do on Dragon, especially since it's Force here. The big problem I've had with this is just getting through the waves quickly. It's easy to kill the dragon with poison, but it's really tough to get through these first two waves, which is why I like Ruel here, because he can do a ton of damage. And once we get some better gear on these champions, I don't have the greatest savage gear on my account yet for my damage dealers. I think we could probably get this down consistently around a minute. And it's nice because Lydia can put that Brimstone debuff out there and get us a little bit of extra damage on the dragon. But Armiger, as you're going to see, is in some pretty bad gear. It's probably the worst geared Armiger you'll ever see, just based on the stats that we have, but we don't use him for anything on this account. So I just brought him in, gave him some gear, and wanted him to hit those big 500,000 plus shots on the dragon when he does use the A2. And it works out pretty well for the most part. As you can see, we got a halfway decent time there, 129. That's, like I said, it's averages right around 130, but the team concept's pretty simple here. You put out the decreased defense weaken, you put out the Hex, you put out the nuke with Ruel, and then you've got Renegade to reset everybody's cooldown. We're not really worried too much about Armiger until we get to the dragon. He's just there to put those big hits out with his A2. And, you know, once we get some more reflex gear, maybe some refresh accessories, we may be able to speed this up a little bit. But so far, it's working pretty well. I'm pretty happy. It just kind of depends on how quickly they get through the waves as to whether or not they're going to be able to do a good time. But you can see here, we get through wave 2 a little bit more quickly than we do wave 1, so not too bad. We're going to get through this right around 40 seconds usually, and then they get to the dragon. And here it's just dump as much damage and dump some poison on him, get that A2 with Armiger, and hopefully Lydia hits that Brimstone debuff to get us a bit of extra damage to help us get through it a little bit more quickly. But I thought I would share this team just in case you guys might be looking for something more along the budget lines. You know, it's kind of easy to put this together with Armiger and Renegade. Much easier to get Renegade than it is to get Kaimar, as I know all too well. I still do not have him on the main account, but I have 2 of him on my free-to-play account, which is just hilarious. Lydia, obviously, from Faction Wars, and then Mithrala from Hydra. And if you're fortunate enough to do the fusion, you should have a copy of Ruel, hopefully. But again, got a pretty decent time here. Probably going to be right around 130, 140-ish for this one, depending on whether or not these poisons can knock him down. So once this finishes here, we'll go ahead and jump into check out the AI presets and also take a look at the gear on some of these champions so you guys can see how I have them all built out. Alright, here we are. We are actually in the AI presets for my Dragon 25 team. Thought I'd show you guys this real quick so you can kind of see how we have it set up. We'll start off here with Ruel, the Hunt Master. Of course, we've got him in here because he does a lot of damage, and he's also got that crit rate aura, which allows us to skimp on some of the other stats, or skimp on the crit rate so we can get a little bit higher on some of the other stats. So you can see here on round 1, we've got him set up to go ahead and open up with Unleash the Hunt because he'll be going after Mithrala. We've got it speed tuned to do that. We got the A3 turned off, and then we're going to have the A2 not used again, just in case we need a few extra turns to get through the wave. That makes sure he's not going to use it again, and he'll have it ready to go for round 2, which we make sure we prioritize that on round 2. After that, we don't care if he uses it again because it's really not going to play too much into fighting the dragon. We actually have it turned off along with his A3 against the dragon. So basically, you just want to make sure Ruel's going after whoever puts out your Hex, and then he's going to go ahead and use his Unleash the Hunt on both of those rounds. So the reason that if you have like double Ruel, that would work pretty well here too, because they can kind of bounce off of each other, and you get a little bit more damage. But that's why we had to bring in Mithrala here, because my Thea the Tomb Angel is not built very well. I don't have a second Ruel, and Mithrala also actually does bring a little bit of poison, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have her in here, because that helps get the dragon down a little bit faster. We got Lydia here. We've got a 1-star blessing on her with Brimstone, which just kind of helps speed up the run, but she's mainly in there for her decreased defense and weaken on the A2. We've got her opening up with that. She is the fastest champion in the comp, so she's going to go first. So we've got her opening up on, actually we're on round 1. I always forget to click back over, but it's basically the same. Open it on round 1 and don't use it again. Open on round 2, don't use it again. And then we're kind of free for all on round 3, but she's usually going to have that decreased defense coming out first turn of each round. So that way we got a good start. So let's go to Mithrala now. We have her starting off with her Sigil of Toxic Glory. Of course, that's the AoE Hex to get that out there for Ruel. So you can see there she is set to go. Before Ruel, she's in just kind of her general accuracy build that I use her all over the place. We'll get into the gear here in just a second. And then you can see round 2, we prioritize the Sigil of Toxic Glory. I have her Brimming Silex turned off basically to speed things up, so she's not using that. And then when we get to the dragon, everything's turned off but the A1, just so she can be putting that poison on the dragon. We have Armiger here. We're going to talk about him in a minute. The title of the video is probably the worst built Armiger you will ever see in your life on this game, but we'll get into that a little bit more here. But we basically got him going around 1. We're actually prioritizing later rest there so we can take out any of those mobs that might survive with a big hit. The same thing in round 2. And then same thing in round 3. Basically, that's just to kind of get those big hits out there. Usually he's going to have it reset or coming back around, so we don't really have to worry about him using it first in those rounds. And then we have Renegade here, who basically is just in here for the sacrificial ritual, which we're going to prioritize in all those rounds so that she can try to bring back those cooldowns on our ally skills. And that's really the only reason she's in there. She's the slowest champion, so she goes last and resets everyone. You could try to build her for a little bit of damage since she will get a couple attacks in, but for the most part, you just want her in there to be getting those resets in on the cooldowns. So let's go ahead, jump out of here, and then we'll go into the actual champions here, and we can go ahead and take a look at the gear and everything that we have on them. Lydia's just in my general build that I have for her for Doom Tower and Arena. So she's got a lot of accuracy and she's pretty fast, 296 on the speed, 592 on the accuracy. I haven't really revisited her build in a long time. Probably should at some point to see if I've got some better perception gear to put on her. And you can see we're getting quite a few bonuses from the Great Hall here, because we do have a fairly developed Great Hall at this point. I think I'm at 215 right now, so getting quite a good bit of stats from there. I can show you her masteries there real quick. Ruel we have in Savage gear and Cruel gear. It's not amazing Savage or Cruel gear. I have really awful luck on the Fire Knight, but we did the best that we could with his gear, so we're at 5100 attack. I'd like to have that much higher. 84% crit rate. Again, we're going to get that 20% from his aura, so we don't have to worry about hitting the crit cap there. And 243% crit damage. Again, would like to get that much higher if we could, but we're kind of working with what we've got. It's really pretty difficult when you are trying to do the Fire Knight farming and hoping to get that good Savage gear to drop. We just haven't had much luck with that. I always get the Savage gear with the HP percent or defense percent substats, never the crit rate or the crit damage. And we do have him in Helm Smasher there, so you can kind of get an idea. On the damage, we do actually have him fully booked. I was just checking that real quick because I had not seen if I had booked him out yet. And we do have the blessing here for Soul Reap, but it is only a 1-star, so it's a very low chance for it to actually do anything. Hopefully we'll get a better blessing for him somewhere down the road. Take a look at Mithrala now. Again, we've got her amazingly in a high accuracy build. Usually her mostly in Hydra and some 3v3 arena and on arena defense once in a while. So we kind of take a look at her stats: 645 accuracy, 253 speed, 3300 defense. Again, she's just here mainly because she enables a much easier hex for Ruel to nuke off of with her A2. She's one of the best setup champions for Ruel, in my opinion, so that's why it's nice that you can get her from Hydra. She pairs really nicely with him, and I think has made him a lot more relevant now. We still don't see Ruel used a lot by the mainstream content creators quite a bit, but he's one of the best kept secrets still in the game because he does hit so freaking hard that you can use him to wave nuke in quite a few of these higher end dungeons, so that's why he's pretty nice there. We could look at masteries on her. Pretty run-of-the-mill, nothing special there. And again, we were talking about Renegade. She's basically, like I said, just in here to reset. We don't even have a fully rolled up set of boots on her. And I had some gear on her basically for Faction Wars, I think. I used to use her in Faction Wars, and I just never got around to changing the gear out. We just threw a crappy pair of boots on her to get her speed down below the threshold of what it needed to be. So really, nothing too important on her. Masteries aren't even finished yet. She's probably got books just because I had rare books laying around, but she's, again, just there to help reset those cooldowns if you don't have the Prince Kymar. And now we get to the worst built Armiger of all time. Actually, in a poison set, this is just to help do a little bit of extra damage once you get to the dragon. Probably be a little bit more effective if we could get him into Reflex or Relentless gear, so he's getting that A2 back more often. And we just kind of show you his build here. 85 on the crit rate. Again, we get that boost from Ruel, so we don't have to worry about crit capping him. Defense could be a lot higher. Accuracy, obviously, you want, if you're using Armiger for anything, you want his accuracy to be higher than this, but this is the only thing I use Armiger for in the game. He was actually just sitting in my vault, and this is one of the reasons I often won't tell people to chase doing uncommon champions to 60. I know Armiger's like, everybody loves this guy, they say he's as good as a legendary. I'm just not real fond of wasting the resources to 6-star an uncommon champion, especially if you're in the early game, because those are resources you could use to build a better clan boss champion, to build a better champion for dungeons to help you out. And while I think he's got a really good kit, and his A2 is really nice, and his A1 obviously has the turn meter, and you could definitely get some use out of him. If you absolutely have to 6-star 60, he'd probably be one of the only ones I would suggest to do it, but I just don't like recommending people waste those resources, especially early on in the game. You know, we did the whole video about Shield Guard and why it was a bad idea to actually do all of that, because as I mentioned in that video, every time the content creators show you a champion like this and suggest you build it, you're a newer player, they have the fully developed Great Hall, they've got really good gear on that champion that you're just not going to have until you've been playing the game for a couple of months. So it's not really worth it, in my opinion, to chase after these champions in the early game and waste your resources on them. So that's my soapbox for don't waste resources on uncommon champions early in the game. But that's the thing, like I've never really used Armiger much on this account, and that's why I kind of just said, you know what, all we're using him for now is to get big damage on the dragon. You saw with the A2, he's hitting for 500,000 plus with the War Master. So we really just wanted to put him in gear to help him do some more damage. We got that poison. If I was going to rebuild him for this, like I said, with some better gear, we could probably get this time down. I'd probably try to get him in some Savage gear and some Cruel gear, just so he's, going to avoid some of that defense. And, we threw him in a couple refresh pieces here just to hopefully get that A2 back a little bit more quickly. But that's kind of how we have it here. Again, kind of a low-budget team to farm Dragon 25 because, again, I just have not been lucky getting any of the Poison Explosion champions or the Prince Kymar or anything, so it's kind of rough. We got to kind of work with what you have here, but hopefully this is a team, especially with Lydia, Ruel, and Mithrala, You know, Armiger and Renegade being fairly, in my opinion, easily accessible. This might be something you could do once you get into that later game and you're just trying to get a team together to farm Dragon 25. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Hope you all have enjoyed this. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I'll do my best to get you an answer as soon as I can. As always, I hope you're having a great day. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you again next time.